Dr. Hovind, I love your doctoral thesis. I've torn it to pieces with house and gaffle. I can't remember when I last pissed myself laughing. It's a good thing the thesis mopped the piss off the floor.
Welcome to part 49 of this read-through and peer review of Kent Hovind's doctoral dissertation, which was published on wikileaks.org on December the 9th, 2009. If you have not yet seen the previous parts in this series, then I recommend that you go back and see those first, as in this episode I will start off exactly where I finished off in the last one. In the last episode, Kent told us all about how a belief in evolution was also a sanction for abortion. Probably because most sane and rational people really wish that most creationists had been aborted. In this episode, Kent goes on to tell us how evolution has affected modern science. Now, this is going to be good. Over to you, Kent. Secondly, I think evolution not only affects our society, it affects our modern science. You don't say, Kent, what with it being scientific and all that. But do go on. One of the things that we try to teach students is what is called the scientific method. Yes, Kent, we do try to teach that, but in your case, in the case of most of the fundy fucktards who believe the biblical bullshit you come out with, we quite obviously fail. But anyway, there are basically 4 steps involved in the scientific method. Yes, Kent, there are. That could actually be a combo breaker, but carry on. There are basically 4 steps in the scientific method. Yes, Kent, you've already said that. Carry on. Observation, experimentation, classification of data, and conclusion. Really, Kent? Are you sure? Maybe at a high school level, but I prefer to think of it more as the following. First, there is the characterization, the observation and definition of what it is that you actually want to study. If it was Darwinian evolution, for instance, you would be observing allele frequencies within a population over time, and their variation depending upon natural circumstances or natural selection. Secondly, there will be the hypothesis. This is where you reason what you think the explanation could be for the observations you have observed regarding the thing that you are observing. This is followed by step 3, which is predictions, where you say that if the hypothesis is true, then I will observe the following if I test the following. It's all quite logical stuff, really. This is then followed by experimentation. This is where you test your predictions. If the results that you get from your experiment disagree with your prediction, then it is a good possibility that your hypothesis is wrong. If, on the other hand, the results agree, then it adds weight to your hypothesis. It doesn't necessarily prove it, but it gives credence to it. And if, for instance, you can make lots and lots and lots of predictions based on a particular hypothesis, and in all the experiments you do, the results of your predictions are exactly as you predict, then you have a very strong case in believing that the hypothesis is indeed correct. These predictions are what is known scientifically as a theory. And when you're testing the theory, you are indeed, in fact, testing the prediction. A theory isn't a fact, and never will be a fact. You see, Kent, a fact is an observation. And you see, Kent, when you're talking about the theory of evolution, you are talking about the predictions made based upon a hypothesis. And when these predictions, when the theory has been tested, it is agreed precisely with these predictions, and therefore validated the hypothesis. You see, Kent, what you've just described is, well, the things that you do in lab class. You know, high school science, that thing that you taught for 15 years. But do go on. It is extremely important that scientists learn to use the scientific method, particularly observation and experimentation. They need to learn how to be good scientists. Yes, Kent. And in order to do that, they also need to pay particular attention to hypothesis and prediction. You know, the two things that you left out. I'm suspecting that the students that you taught didn't turn out to be good scientists at all. But anyhow, we take our science classes and try to teach them the unobservable thing of evolution. Two things, Kent. It is observable, and that thing is a theory. There is no observation for this doctrine, and it does not belong in science. There is, Kent, and it most definitely does. It is part of a religion. No, it isn't, Kent. There is no experimentation for evolution. Yes, there is, Kent. Lots and lots of it. You might not understand it, but hey, that's just you. And you're a fucktard. What do you know? But do an experiment. Show me evolution happening. Okay, Kent, if you say so. Do you by any chance have a bacterial culture and some antibiotics? Let's apply the antibiotics to that bacterial culture. And let's be amazed, as after several generations, the only bacteria left in that bacterial culture is antibiotic resistant. There you go, Kent. We have just, in the space of a few days, a few weeks, evolved a bacterial culture which is susceptible to antibiotics into one that isn't. You can't have taught very good science for those 15 years, if you didn't know anything about that. But carry on. All they have been able to show so far are genetic changes that have been neutral or negative. Yes, Kent. So what exactly do you call a genetic mutation that provides resistance to antibiotics? You know, the thing that keeps the bacterial organism alive. I wouldn't exactly call it neutral or negative. I would call it most definitely beneficial or positive. But that's just me. There has never been an increase in genetic matter or genetic structure. Really, Kent? Are you sure about that? So the genetic concepts of deletion, duplication, inversion, insertion, and translocation mean absolutely nothing to you. You know, all those processes that form the basis of genetic engineering, where genetic engineers delete, duplicate, invert, insert, or translocate genes within the chromosomes. And while you're at it, Kent, explain Down syndrome. You know, that genetic disorder that involves the inclusion of an extra 21st chromosome. I guess you're saying that extra chromosome does not count as an increase in genetic matter or genetic structure.